I wanted to be a politician. I was from a political family. My grandfather had been in the War of Independence against the British. My grandmother also. My father was in politics. So I developed a very early obsession with politics and history. And so politics was the profession for me. My first political memories are the conflict, actually. The 70s were the worst years. But at the same time, we joined the European Economic Community. We were able to find a pathway towards peace, but also prosperity. And in the late 80s and early 90s, that pathway towards peace in Northern Ireland was beginning to emerge and finally culminating in the Good Friday Agreement in 1998. And a lot of people will say, and I think this is very true, that the European Union played a very key role in helping Ireland and Britain to find common ground.
Próxima intervenção, Barry Andrews.
I was probably the only Irish person that benefited from Brexit because while I was elected in 2019, I didn't take my seat until the UK withdrawal. So it was bittersweet, I would say. It is with mixed feelings that I make this first contribution to the proceedings of this chamber, but it is fitting that I should speak for my first contribution on Brexit, because essentially it is one of the reasons I put my candidacy forward a year ago, and ironically one of the reasons that I've ended up here. So I very much dedicated a lot of my working time to trying to make sure that the damage of Brexit is kept to a minimum. When I came here, I had a huge interest in international development issues, and I founded the Sustainable Development Goals Alliance. And we put the SDGs back on the agenda. And now, for the first time ever, the European Union is doing its own voluntary review to test whether the implementation of the SDGs is going well. The European Union has to stand up for democracy. It sounds like a very obvious thing to say, but at a time when democracy is under threat across the world, it is something we cannot be complacent about. Freedom House reported last year that it's been 16 consecutive years of decline in global freedom. I think the European Union has an enormous role to play for its member states, but also globally, to adhere to the very basic principles of democracy. I have some pictures on my wall which try to illustrate, things I'm enthusiastic about. I have a picture of one of the greatest footballers of all time, a guy by the name of Paul McGrath. He was not only a brilliant footballer, but also he sort of represented a version of Ireland at its best. He's a national treasure. Everybody loves him. Picture of him on my wall. I think he's great.